Hello and welcome to Lad Reviews. Today's comedy, we are reviewing Kevin James. Well, if you're familiar with King of Queens, which used to be a very popular program on Comedy Central, probably still getting repeats loads, I don't know. I don't have Comedy Central anymore.
Because you're a dosser.
Thanks, you prick. I've got issues. Anyway, Kevin James, well, King of Queens, brilliant. Found him really funny in that. Will have definitely made enough money in that to never have to worry again. So then the pressure's off. And then as an actor, you start accepting roles in comedies to try and further your career. And Kevin James has accepted more mediocre lead roles in comedies than, wow, Adam Sandler, Ben Stiller. He's just Captain Mediocre. I mean, to be fair, I quite like Ben Stiller, but Mall Cops, you might have seen that, he's in that. So I wasn't really familiar with him as a stand-up comedian, but I had high hopes for this because I did really like him in King of Queens. I found him really funny, very impulsive, brilliant.
God, it was crap.
So it starts off really badly. He just doesn't seem to have any faith in what he's saying. There's no confidence in his conviction, and he's just not very funny to begin with. The reason I say to begin with, we'll get to later in the show. So it starts off with loads of non-offensive things, like really unoffensive, so mild. Crap. People are chuckling along because they kind of feel sorry for him, it feels like, and he seems to be getting a little bit lost with what he's saying. There's no flow to it. It's just egg. It was 20 minutes before I actually laughed. But, you know, when I did, and when he was funny, it was all right. The problem was, it didn't feel like his stories in the first 10, 15 minutes were real. Or it felt like they were loosely based on something that he'd embellished, which I know all comedians do, but it just didn't work. Then he decides to get offensive. So this is about 25 minutes in. He's made me laugh once. Then he decides to take on people with food allergies. And for 90% of it, it's actually quite offensive in a kind of really righteous, like fat person way. Like, almost like,
I'm a fat person, so you can't be lactose intolerant. That shit didn't exist.
it's like, oh, come on, mate. People are lactose intolerant. They were back then. They were just ill all the time and no one knew what was going on. So it still existed. It just hadn't been given a label. However, towards the end, in the very final segment of the piece, all of a sudden he started speaking to the audience and having a bit of interaction where it was improvised, fresh, and in the moment, and he was genuinely funny. And I laughed like quite a bit. And by this point, I was pissed off with him. So for him to bring me out of that and make me laugh, he's done very, very well there. And actually, I'm going to give this 2 stars because I think if you do like Kevin James, you may like some of it. If you are fat and hate lactose intolerant people, you will like it. But for me, he needs to do more of that. He needs to do more speaking to the audience, speaking to people, because he's so quick. He's a genuinely very funny man, but it feels like his wife's just gone, get out of the house and go and do something. And he has done. It's fallen flat on its face, and at the end he's gone,
oh, I'm over this now. I'll chat to a couple of the audience members.
And that was the best bit. Come on, Kev James, do a bit more of that. There's an English comic in this country, a Scouser, Paul Smith, I think he's called. And he just basically speaks to the audience. He doesn't really have a lot of material, or he probably has a lot of material, but he doesn't necessarily do traditional stand-up. It's called, how are you, mate? Or something like that. And he's genuinely very funny. And Kevin James could do that. He could just literally sit, chat to the audience, and it would be genuinely funny. His own writing restricts him a little bit. But 2 stars because, you know, it wasn't that bad at the end. It was just terrible for the first 80%. I've been Marcus J. Richardson. Until next time, peace.